If you loved the Adidas Adios Pro 4, but found it potentially a little bit soft and slightly unstable, then the Anta C202 G9 2 might be your perfect shoe. I just took this for a 22-mile long run with a workout, and I have a lot to share with you all.
Doncha Wana. Wana Anta. 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 Mírame, escuche si tú yo quieres saber. Mírame, escuche si tú yo quieres saber. Doncha Wana. Wana Anta.
So lacing up the Anta C202 G9 2, this is really comfortable. I don't know if I've ever had a racing shoe that fits quite as nicely as this on my foot. Like, this is such a nice fit. The material on it feels a lot like the material in the Adidas Adios Pro 4, Adios 9. The sort of light lock system upper with whatever that fabricy feel is. It's a little different, but it's definitely similar, especially just to the foot through a sock. I know that's a weird statement, but the way the upper feels on my socked foot feels more similar to the Adios Pro 4 upper on a socked foot than to the touch, like than tactily. It just feels like it's wrapping the foot in the same general way. I got this in a size 10, and it definitely feels small for a size 10. Feels like it's closer to 9.5, which is fine. I mean, for a racing shoe, that's fine. We're gonna see how that does on the run. I'm sort of touching it right now as I'm talking to you all, but yeah, I am immediately impressed with the way it fits. The laces have a little bit of give to them, but they're serrated. They're really tiny serrations as well, and I think that's going to be whatever it is. It's going to grip the eyelet chain like it's supposed to, and yeah, I'm looking forward to running in this. This is an exciting shoe. The one reservation I have about it is that this foam is really soft, and I think that, I mean, after the experience running in the Anta Zone 2, which is the same foam as this, that did feel fast all the time to me, but it was also soft. It was weird because the Zone 2 has this like compression range. It sort of stops compressing after a certain like amount of foam. You cute. Stranger, you have a banana. Okay, all right. Thank you. Goodbye. I guess I'm done. Anta C202 G9 2. It's like a fax machine or something. I am about to get cracking on this 20-mile long run. It's going to be a unique type of day. I'm meeting up with Mike and Brad from Run Club, where we are going to do some speed work in the middle of this long run. And I'm a little nervous because my legs are shot. They've continued to be shot. My left calf is just like battered, and it feels bruised and sort of in just a sheer amount of pain that I don't want to cope with. And my right leg is just tired from running, right? That's normal. But I'm going to get to it. I'm excited. This feels really nice on foot. And I realized halfway through walking around the house that this also doesn't have an insole in it. So maybe this is a new trend that we're going to start seeing out in the West as well. But it seems to not have any effect on comfort so far, either in the 361 Miro Nude 2 or in this. So we're gonna find out. Maybe like 18 miles into the run I start bleeding, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I'll let you know though. Okay, I got a really good read on these really early on into the run. I'm about 3 and change in right now, and it's been really windy, so you're probably not going to hear from me a ton on this one. But this reads like an Adios Pro 4 that's slightly firmer, or like the Anta Zone 2 with a plate. So if you like the foam feel of the Anta Zone 2, that's really what you're going to be getting in the G9. I mean, it is the same foam, but it's like sometimes when it's the same foam, I have skepticism. Like the Adios 9 is supposed to be the same foam as the Adios Pro 4. I don't know about that. But with this, it's like, yeah, it is the same foam. And there's the wind. There's something of the lacing system from the Deviate Nitro Elite 4 that I'm finding in this shoe as well. I had to retie this once on one of the shoes, not because it came loose or anything, but because I just simply hadn't tied it down too tight, which I generally go looser rather than tighter. But as with the Deviate Nitro Elite 4, with the elasticity in the laces in this, and like the elasticity in the upper in the Deviate, it's very accommodating. It's very like, it has a good dynamic range of fit. I think it's a feature for sure. So far I've gotten a couple speedier strides in this, and it feels good. I mean, this is definitely a easy shoe to get along with. I would say earlier when I was on the track, the grip is definitely not top tier, especially coming from the Doan Blade 2, which you guys have not seen my review of yet. It is still on the editing floor and will actually release after this video. But that was a total disaster. You're gonna love this one. It was a total disaster, but that had a crazy outsole for grip, especially for the track in wet conditions. And this, coming directly from that as a reference point, this is not as good on the track, but I would say it's probably early to call it versus the Adios Pro 4. I'd have to do a back-to-back comparison, and that's the comparison to the shoe for sure. It's the direct comp. If anything, this is immediately more comfortable, both underfoot and on foot. But I would say that probably the Anta has the edge for outsole. I have to do a top-end comparison between the two, too. But yeah, so far, very similar shoes. This is very comfortable. It's almost to the point where I'm just slightly skeptical how Anta developed this shoe. Like, why is it so particularly similar to one very specific other shoe? Foam-wise, forefoot dominant strike-wise, outsole-wise, like, just vibe-wise. It's really good. Just parted ways with Mike and Brad. We did a crazy workout. It was what they were calling over-unders. I'm pretty unfamiliar with all the workout terminology, frankly, because I don't do them like this. But it was a mile warm-up, and then I think it was 5 or 6 at 8-minute pace, and then we were oscillating 1 mile at 6:50-ish. There's the wind. And then the second mile at 7:45-ish, and like going back and forth. I think we did 3 or 4 reps, I can't remember. But this is an over distance run for sure. I am at 21 and change, and it'll be 22 by the time I get back. And I feel it now. The workout part was good, like smooth, endorphin-y feeling effort. I felt much better, smoother, genuinely physically better overall at the 650 miles versus the 730 to 750 miles. It felt stiff at the slower, the recovery miles, and my legs were not handling it as well. I don't know how much of that's the shoes or how much the pace would have felt the same across any shoes, because like I just felt very natural at the 650s, which is great news. I love that. I will see you back for a recap shortly. Okay, 22 miles, 8:45 pace. That's not very reflective of what the working pace was. I was bopping along for the first 5.5 miles of that, so that definitely reduced or like raised the average pace. If you could bear with me while I work through my run brain, I'll tell you about the shoes. Shoes were, at first they felt very similar to the Adios Pro 4s, and I really need to put those on and go back to back, but these were like just pristine, perfect shoes for today's effort. And I really like the lack of insole, just the sewn in fabric over the foam. I don't know if it's like if there's something to that, or if it's just the last two shoes that I tried that had this feature, or like lack of feature, I guess, if they are just that good of shoes. And I don't know, but yeah, I liked it. It felt different and more direct, maybe. Almost like it's like the Adios Pro 4, but slightly less soft, but only because of the fact that I'm running directly on the foam. There's like less of a turbo lag, almost like a car with a turbo has a lag to the acceleration because the turbo spooling up. It's almost like that, like it's less of a rounded edge to the shoe. It's more of a kiki than a booba or a boba. I don't know if that's gonna come across to anybody, but yeah. And the one thing that I did notice, though, it did loosen over time towards the very end, and I think that's something that happens with a few shoes when the paces change drastically, and I was doing back and forth on the pace a bunch, and so that's probably why it loosened. But if I were to go about this run again, I would probably tie it even tighter to begin with, so that would be less likely to occur. But yeah, no lace bite. I mean, this is one of the most comfortable uppers on a race shoe that I've ever run in, for sure. It's very similar to the Adios Pro 4, so it gives me a little bit of pause to run in this in the summer, because the Adios 9 and the Adios Pro 4, that upper is not breathable, and this is so similar to that I'd be concerned that I'd get like sweaty foot. But even if I do, that's not, I don't know, to me that doesn't matter a whole ton. The outsole is fine, but I didn't test it. Like, there was no slippery conditions other than on the track, and it wasn't great on the track, on the wet track. I'm not really sure why the track was wet. Like, does it just stay wet longer? Everything else is dry. Yeah, anything else that I noticed? The thing that I didn't notice is the shoe. It disappeared on foot. I was locked in the whole time. It was just sort of as assistive as it needed to be, but it didn't feel like I was wearing anything insane or like next level. But it also was just like, it just wasn't there. It was not a factor in the run, which really is good. It was a really good effort, really good shoe for the effort. Yeah, and they're all just so good now. All of these carbons, they're all so good. And this is just different. This is different than the Deviate. It's very similar to the Adios Pro 4. It's definitely more stable than the Adios Pro 4, and I would say slightly firmer. So, like, in a way, an improvement on that shoe. I don't know if it rises quite to the level of the Deviate, but that's something that I'd have to test back to back. I can't say right now. Because, like, yeah, I'm coming off a really good workout, and that feels like it could rival the Deviate. Or, you know, I need to get back out on the fast R3. I want to do some really fast miles in that. Maybe that's next weekend. We'll see. But for now, back to the studio.
And we're
in the studio with the Anta C202 G9 2. It's like a fax machine name, but it does not run like a fax machine. In fact, it is a running shoe. And we're going to break down the specs and materials. The C202 G9 2 has 34 in the heel and 30 in the forefoot, which I have a pretty large amount of skepticism for because there's just no freaking way. Like, yeah, it's taller than that. Even if they're right, technically, it feels a lot taller than that. And it has me turning my wheels about how accurate companies are in measuring the stack. There's just no way that this is that low. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is. And maybe they've discovered something about foam dynamics that create the sensation of having a higher platform. I don't really know, but that's the stated stack height and drop. So 4 mm drop. And also it didn't really feel quite like a 4 mm drop. I mean, my calves have been extremely beat up all week. Like this has been actually 2 weeks now of extreme calf fatigue. And this didn't compound those issues as far as I could tell. I mean, I'm pretty fresh coming back from the run right now. So maybe later in the day, I will eat those words. I could see maybe it being because there's no insole in this shoe, which is really cool. I have now run in 2 shoes, this and the Miro Nude 2, in the last week that don't have an insole, and both actually worked really well for me. So I'm not sure if there's something to that. I mentioned this out on the run, but I think there might be something to that. I don't know what it is about the lack of insole that I am enjoying, but it feels a little more direct to the, propulsion, maybe. I don't know. It's really hard to say. This weighs around 180, 170, 180. That's right in line with a lot of the other, cutting edge, top of the line super shoes. And it feels light on foot. It feels maybe not quite as remarkably light on foot as the Deviate Nitro Elite 4, but it feels at least on par with that. The laces are a slightly stretchy serrated lace. Like there's a little bit of give to the lace, which I think could be a drawback for some people, but they're really nice. It's nice laces. The tongue had ample padding. It's a stretchy tongue. It felt really tactily nice when I was lacing up. The upper is straight out of the Adios Pro 4. It's like a dupe almost. It's not quite exactly the same material, but it's the same type of material. And it fits very similarly. It feels very similar wrapping your foot to the Adios Pro 4. The midsole is the N90 foam from Anta, which also feels very similar to the new Lightstrike Pro, like very, very similar to the new Lightstrike Pro, if you get my implication. And the outsole is CPU. I don't know exactly what they're calling this particular type of CPU. I didn't have a chance to give it a grip test. It was wet on the track and it wasn't perfect traction for that, but I was also warming up. It was like the first mile and a half of the run, so it's hard to judge the traction on this so far. It's fine, but it was a dry day. And it's a split heel padding. It has the bumpers on either side rather than a full collar, but the material that the heel counter is made of was perfectly good. I like the sort of sockish lining that they lined the rim of the heel collar with. It's a nice premium feeling heel collar. It's very light as well. Overall, this felt incredible on foot. The materials feel very premium. And yeah, really enjoyed the way it fit on foot. So into the fit section, that's when he cuts to the fit section. The fit was excellent. This was one of the best fitting carbon plated racing shoes that I've ever had on my foot. In a size 10, I will say it fit closer to what I believe a 9.5 feels like on my foot. But it works. So I'm in between sizes. A lot of times, 9.5 doesn't have the width in my right forefoot, so it throws off my stride on my right forefoot specifically. And I did not have that problem with this shoe, but lengthwise, it felt a lot closer to a 9.5 than a 10. So do with that information what you will. It fit me like a glove. This is one of the best fitting shoes that I've actually probably ever run in, but it might be short for some of you in your like normal size, I guess. Just go do with that what you will. That's all I have to say about the fit. The fit was actually fantastic, and I wouldn't change a single thing about it. Maybe the laces being slightly stretchy, loosening over the course of the run could, maybe they did loosen, but maybe it's also like they were stretched out by being worn in a little bit. But it's the first run in this, right? So maybe I'll change my tune on that later on. But it did feel like it loosened slightly on my right foot only by the end of the run. But that could just be breaking too. That's it on the fit. Let's go to the ride. This was a really great ride. It was fantastic. I'm still not sure where this will fit in with all of the carbons that I've tested so far, but it was just such a effortless, like really nice, gentle, bouncy, but not overly aggressive, not strange geometry. It just felt like a normal shoe. It felt like you would take this Anta Zone 2, put a plate in it, and call it a day, and like maybe make the upper better, even though it's a very similar upper to what's on the Anta Zone 2. It's just like it just worked so like seamlessly. That's a really good way to put it. It's seamless as a carbon plated racing shoe. I feel like a lot of people will get along with this extremely well. It's like seriously, like the Adios Pro 4 with a slightly tuned, slightly firmer, and without the medial cutout, making it more stable. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I don't know if it has the top end that the Deviate does. It's, first run, hard to say. When I was testing the Deviate Nitro Elite 4 on the first run, it was a snowstorm, and I didn't get as good of a read as I could on that shoe. So this is one that I'm going to want to revisit a bit, but I did get quite a lot of pace in today. The range was from 10-minute miles all the way down to, I think I had one closing out at 620. And so, I mean, I got a lot of pace into this. I had a good stretch of about a half mile at 5:45 pace on our last rep of the over-unders. And it handled all of it. I mean, it was literally like a dream. I didn't really even notice the shoe throughout the workout at all, which means it was just getting out of the way, allowing me to do my workout as as it was prescribed. And it was just, yeah, seamless. Seamless is the word that comes to mind. I really do like the idea behind not having an insole, as long as there's like some sort of fabric covering the strobel board. And yeah, it just seems to work for me so far in the two shoes that I've tried it in. If I were to do a brief little set of comparison, of course, I've already talked about the Adios Pro 4, talking about the 361 Degrees Miro Nude 2. That is a faster shoe for sure. That might be among the fastest shoes that I've ever run in. This might, for some of the very fastest runners out there, might lack the top end. But I think that going for 250-ish marathon, which is sort of what I'm targeting, like optimistically targeting, this will be perfect for people in that range. And even on Anta's breakdown of their 3 tiers of racing products, there's the C202 which they're saying is like, I think they said 330 to 430 plus marathoners. That's where they're like predicting that would be the best suited shoe. And I do vaguely agree with that. I think that shoe has a lot more speed than that would indicate, but I think it would probably be perfect for that, right? Perfect for that range. And then they're saying that this is good for 330 and under. And then their next tier racing shoe, which I can't remember what it's called. It's something like the G10 or I don't remember, but it's their like top of the line. It looks sort of like a fast R3. They say that's for 230 and faster marathoners. So there's a bit of a gap in their racing products between what they're prescribing, the speed, and like this between this and their top tier. That's like an hour of gap of potential utilization. But I think that this fills that gap pretty well. Like the 330 to 230 range, you could probably use it. Anybody could probably use this throughout that pace range, and it just feels really nice. It's a nice shoe. I mean, these carbons are so good these days that it's hard to find a bad shoe where I could trust that I could lace up a carbon plated racing shoe without a insole in it, take it out of the box for 22, and never second guess the decision once. That shows just how far running shoe technology has come. And like, I would just race in this. Like I wouldn't have any issue taking this for a full marathon. I have a high level of skepticism that this is 34:30 because if the Takumi Sen is 33:27 or 26, whatever the claimed stack height is on the Takumi Sen, then there's no earthly way that this is 34:30. But that's based on some guy's vibe check on a shoe. So it probably is 34:30. And maybe the Adidas is wrong. I don't know. But this feels a heck of a lot taller than that. I don't have a tool that'll effectively measure this. So if anybody has any further information on how maybe the Chinese companies are measuring the shoes from a different point, I mean, that wouldn't make sense because it wouldn't give like World Athletics legality. But yeah, high level of skepticism there. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with this shoe. I mean, it's hard for me to get very excited about new carbon because I don't get to use it all the time. So I'm more likely to get excited about daily trainers. But the last two carbons that I've tried from this batch that I ordered from China, this and 361 degrees Mero Nude 2, are fire. I mean, they're really fantastic shoes. I have more mileage in the Deviate Nitro Elite 4, so I'm obviously like more comfortable saying that I would take that as my next racing shoe. But the truth is, if I were to race, 3 months from now or a month from now or tomorrow, I could throw a dart at this, the 361 degrees Mero Nude 2, the Deviate Nitro Elite 4, Fast R3, and yeah, those are probably the four. I could throw a dart at any of those blindly, and whichever one the dart landed on, I would be fine racing in it. That's what the level of difference is between any of the shoes that I'm sort of presenting to you here. They're just slightly different. And I was worried when I first stepped into this today because of how similar the foam feels to the Adios Pro 4 that I was going to find it too soft. But because there's no medial cutout and the foam, it feels a little firmer than the Adios Pro 4 because of those two things. Like I didn't have the same issue that I had with the Adios Pro 4 feeling a little too soft. And so, yeah, I mean, I would have no problem racing in it. It's a great shoe. It was a great workout. And that's really it. So thank you all very much for watching. And as always, stay in motion.